Hey, good afternoon. Can everybody hear me? Good afternoon. Can everybody hear me? All right. So at this time, we're about to prepare for our class seminar. Just like a class, I'm going to ask that you turn your cell phone devices on vibrate, and if you can put them away. And we want to make sure that this seminar is going to be kind of engaging. If the panelists, if y'all can come on up to the front. Panelists. All right. So the students that's in here, our visiting students, how did y'all like the tour? I know it's hot out there, right? Yeah? Yeah, okay. All right. And I know y'all probably didn't even get towards like half of the university because it's very big. We go from 45 to the other side of 610. That's so we can accommodate all of our 48,000 students. So at this time, I'd like to introduce our department chair for African American Studies, Dr. Tara Green. For those who don't know what a department chair is, that's in high school. The department chair is almost like a principal in a high school. They do a lot of administrative work, and they also run the department, and they also teach, and they also do a lot of research. So at this time, I'd like to welcome to the stage Dr. Tara Green, department chair for African American Studies. She's the person that made this day happen. So give her a round of applause.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Knight, and welcome to you all. Raise your hand if this is your first time on our campus. Okay, great. So I see a couple of familiar faces from our Summer Emerge program, but welcome, welcome, welcome to the University of Houston. This is not what the campus usually looks like. If you all have noticed that there's construction everywhere on this campus, it is ahead of the centennial, the 100th year anniversary of the institution. And so they are tearing down buildings and tearing up things, and this campus will look very different by 2027. Okay, so that means that there will be some upgrades, including in the building where the African American Studies Department is housed. As mentioned, I'm Dr. Tara Green, department chair. I have been here for 3 years. My area of research is Black feminism and African American literature. And in the next few minutes, I will be teaching the Introduction to African American Studies course, which has about 35 students in it. It is a rigorous course. Please do not think that being in African American Studies is any easier than being in any other kind of major on this campus. We do have expectations of our students because we are preparing students for the rigor of the world, of the career that students will have once they graduate. So what can you do with an African American Studies degree? Does anybody know? Has anybody thought about that? Yes. Policy? Yes, actually we have Dr. Kelechi Wright, who is a specialist in policy. Her PhD is in social work, but she also has a mental health program. Raise your hand. So she teaches a variety of courses, including Introduction to African American Studies, and she will be developing a course on Black mental health as well. She also teaches a legal course for us also. So we have faculty who teach history. We have faculty who teach religious studies. Our students do go on to work wherever they want to work. So sometimes students say, well, I want to be a doctor. Well, I have graduated students who have gone into medical school. They minored in biology. So they did the core curriculum courses, and they applied for medical school and got in. One of my students right now has been for 10 years at least, probably longer than that. I've been around for 25 years doing this work. I think that he's been at least 10 years working in emergency medicine in Charlotte, North Carolina. Many of our students go on to law school. Anybody interested in law? Okay, a couple of people here. A lot of y'all need to be interested in law because we probably need you working in those areas. There's going to be a lot of work for you coming up in the next couple of years because there are a lot of lawsuits being filed on certain issues right now. And, of course, politics. A lot of our students go into politics as well. You do not need a law degree to go into politics, but we do have students that work in politics because they manage politicians, their campaigns. Some of them are politicians. I had a student to go on to student council. He may be mayor now of a small town in North Carolina. Yes, our students go into education. They go into nonprofit work, and they go into mental health. And I'm very proud because we have more students that are wanting to become library archivists. Library archivists. So sometimes we don't think about the people who are behind the scenes, but we do have students that we track into that. We have an internship program here that prepares students for their careers also. Okay? So we are always thinking about students. On October the 11th, we are going to celebrate the fact that we have given out over $100,000 in scholarships this year. Yes. So several of those have gone into students who recently graduated from high school. A couple of those will have gone to students who have transferred into the university. And many of those scholarships have gone to students who have been here, who are sophomores, juniors, and even seniors. So we have scholarship money for students who are at all the trajectory of their academic career. Those students who have scholarships coming in, those students have received $20,000 for 4-year coverage. So they'll get $20,000 this year, $20,000 the second, the third, and the fourth. Okay? So as we have more students, those will become more competitive, but that funding is available. So keep up your GPA, apply early. You can't be considered for that if you have not been admitted into the university. So keep up your GPA. Make sure that somebody is working with you as much as possible on your applications. Do not think that AI can write it for you, because we do look for people that have real voices. AI, if anybody could copy and print from AI, then why would we select you? Okay, we are looking for individuals that have voices and expression. So be very careful about submitting things that have the sort of dumbed down plastic AI voice. Some of you all don't know what that means, but for those of us that read, we know an AI essay when we see it, okay? So that does not make you more competitive, so be very careful about that. Does anybody have any questions for me? The African American Studies Department. Yes, yes. So the African American Studies Department, to make clear, we do have a degree program that includes an internship and rigorous academic courses that prepare students for careers. And we do have funding to help students. You may want to double major if you want to choose African American Studies and another degree program within our college. That is a possibility as well, because some people ask that. But if you get that scholarship, any of our scholarships, then you have to continue in African American Studies to get that degree You can't just say I'm an African American Studies major your first year and then change your major and think you're going to continue to get that money, because that's only for African American Studies majors. Okay? Any other questions? Yes. Speak up, please. Why did I do it? Oh, girl. I'm a daughter of the South, of black people who worked in fields. And my mother, sometimes I tell this story, my mother had to pick cotton growing up in rural North Louisiana. And this is, sometimes it brings tears to my eyes. She was a little girl of 3 or 4 years old. And as she picked that cotton, she would go down that road. She said she used to stare at a tree and wonder what was beyond that tree. So when she got to that tree, she knew that she had halfway for the row. So it was stories like that that motivated me, that one, and she was very serious about that I would get a college degree. She didn't care what it was in. She just wanted a daughter that got a college degree. But because of those stories, I knew I wanted to hear more stories. So that's how I ended up getting a bachelor's degree in English. Okay? So now I write the stories of other people. Actually, my work is, I'm a biographer. So I literally write the stories of other people. I am a storyteller. Okay? In the history and lineage of our ancestors who told stories, griots. That's what we call them. So that is my story. So guess what? One day I found out that I could get paid to talk about black people. Amen. True story. And that's what I do right now, because I love learning more about our culture. I learn something every day. If it's not from our students, it's from another colleague who does this work. Okay? So every day is a learning experience, especially in African American studies. Lifelong learner. Any other questions? That was a good question. Thank you for that. Any other questions for me? Okay, I have to run off to class. My students are probably hoping that I won't show up today, but they still have their quiz. Let me see. Yeah. 3 minutes to race over to the other side. It's been a pleasure and an honor meeting you all. If you ever have any questions for me, do not hesitate to email me. I'm very easy to find. And if you're on Instagram, we are at AAS Cougs, AAS Cougs. Follow us and learn more about what we're doing every day. Take care.
Before we get started, I'd like to introduce a couple of people. If we have any faculty members from the African American Studies Department, please stand and be recognized or wave your hand. All right. One, Dr. Biko. All right. And we have some current students that have joined us today that actually attend the University of Houston. You can please stand, wave your hands. Current students. All right, appreciate it. So what this is actually called a class seminar, just like you would have class in high school. The only difference is that it's not a right or wrong answer to what's going to be discussed today. We're trying to come up with like theories, make you think a little bit, make you go back and read on what they just talked about and what they said. And so I'm going to introduce our moderator this afternoon, who is Dr. Alexander Johnson, who is actually on faculty for our department, who teaches one of the Black theology courses. Had the pleasure of meeting Dr. Johnson before he was born, I believe so. Yeah. Yes, watched him grow up. He is Ivy League trained. I don't know if y'all know what that means. Ivy League trained? Yeah, look that up. But we chose a topic that's kind of controversial today, and so I'm going to allow him to introduce himself and like the panelists, and we're going to go ahead and get started with an interactive class between you and them. Please do not fall asleep. We are streaming live.
Good morning. I am Alexander Johnson. I serve as the executive pastor at Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church and as visiting scholar here at the University of Houston. I come out of the black church tradition, and we have a little thing called call and response. So when I say good morning, I expect good morning back, right? So let's try it again. Good morning. Good to see you all, and welcome to the University of Houston. It's exciting to have you all on our campus. We are excited about this opportunity, and I want to share just briefly what the topic is. Will you help me before we get into it to thank our program director, who is Christopher Knight, who put all of this together. Give him a round of applause. So he wanted us to talk about a hot button issue and to have some academic discourse and civil discourse, especially in today's society where it seems to be lacking. We wanted to show how we can engage in rich discourse about controversial topics. I did like what Dr. Green said about African American studies, and I think that should be our tagline. You get paid to talk about black people. Y'all talk about black people every day of your life, and who knew you could get a degree in it, right? So we wanna talk about black people, not only black people, but black individuals who are part of the National Pan-Hellenic Council. Who knows what that means? Good. All right. Good. We'll get into it. We are each of us who's up here is a member of what can be known as a Black Greek letter organization. Who knows what that means? All right, that sounds more familiar, right? And colloquially, they're known as the Divine Nine. So we are those who are members of the Divine Nine, and I'll talk to you about what those are, and then we want to hear from these panelists. But we have, in recent times, heard conversation and been witness to persons who are denouncing their affiliation with Divine Nine organizations. That means they have gone through the membership process and then determined that they no longer wanted to be affiliated with those organizations. Many of them publicly denounced their letters. Because we're on a college campus, we want to engage in intellectual discourse, right? But the problem with one issue with doing so with respect to this topic is the scholarship isn't really out there yet, right? Meaning the way by which you get to scholarship is persons really dig deep into the rationale and research why it is that decisions have been made. Well, that hasn't taken place, not to any significant degree. We learned of a work prior to coming into this session that we will probably all be looking into after the session. But what we want to talk about is these Black Greek letter organizations and persons who choose to disassociate with these organizations, why they may be doing so. Many of them have reasons that are connected to their faith journey. And so it is important to dig deep into why it is that these persons may be making these decisions and to hear alternative perspectives. To be sure, I wanted to have a full breadth of perspective with respect to those who are making these decisions. And so I asked a few people who have denounced their sorority or fraternity to be here. They had conflicts, and so they could not be on the panel, unfortunately. But we will uplift those reasons. Each of these has some knowledge of someone who has denounced and can speak to that. So very briefly, the 9 Black Greek letter organizations are Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Any alphas in the room? All right. Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity, aspiring alpha here in the front. Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity was the first intercollegiate Black Greek letter organization founded on the campus of Cornell University in Ithaca, New York in 1906, December 4th to be sure. It is the oldest and coldest Black Greek letter organization. All right. And I'm a member, obviously, all right. I came across in a graduate chapter, and that's something we can talk about. I came across after completing my undergraduate degree in a graduate chapter here in the city of Houston. The graduate chapter is Alpha Eta Lambda. Those are Greek letters that represent the chapter. The second of the Black Greek letter organizations is Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. Any alphas, any Alpha Kappa Alpha ladies, AKAs is what we call them. Any AKAs in the room? I know 2 are to my left, okay? And so they were founded in 1908 on the campus of Howard University. The third is Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. I see at least 2 Kappas in the room. Any Kappas, raise your hands. All right, 3, all right, bless you. They were they were founded in 1911 on the campus of Indiana University, which is unique. Most of these were founded on Black campuses. Obviously, you heard Alpha was not and Kappa was not either. Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, 1911, Howard University. Delta Sigma Theta sorority. And any Omegas in the room? I'm sorry. There we go. All right. 2 good brothers, as they call themselves. 1913, Delta Sigma Theta on the campus of Howard University. I see 1. Any other Deltas? Amen. And Dr. Tara Green, she left, but she's likewise a Delta, and we thank God for her leadership of our program. Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, 1914 on the campus of Howard. Any Sigmas in the room? Okay, no Sigmas. Zeta Phi Beta sorority. I know there's a Zeta in the room. 1920 Howard University. Any Zetas in the room? Got 1. All right, that's my student. Be nice to her. 1922 Sigma Gamma Rho sorority. Any SG Rhos? All right. And then they were on the campus of Butler University in Indianapolis, Indiana. And then Iota Phi Theta. Any Iotas in the room? We have 1 Iota in the room. All right. 1963, Morgan State University. All right, so as I mentioned, scholarship is dynamic, and there's not a whole lot of robust scholarship with respect to D9 and religious life. But we have scholars on this panel who can speak to us about that and their lived experience and their intellectual knowledge with respect to it. I'm excited to be joined on this panel by Dr. Mia K. Wright, who is a respected pastor, author, leadership consultant. She's the co-pastor and executive director of ministry at the Fountain of Praise in Houston here, 20,000 member church, and she is the co-pastor with her husband, Dr. Remus Wright, who happens to be my line brother, and we are excited about her presence here. She has tremendous accomplishments. Our time is short, so I'm gonna abbreviate all of our bios. I apologize. But she has tremendous accomplishments. She can speak to many boards that she serves on, and she's just a great woman of faith and knowledge. Will you help me thank God for Mia Wright, who's with us? To her right is Sister Sheila Lewis, soon to be Dr. Sheila Lewis. She is an educator, and she is pursuing her PhD at Jackson State University. She has served as a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority for over 29 years, and she has numerous professional certifications. She's a brilliant educator, but most of all, she is excited about her role as a mother of her son. Will you help me thank Sheila Lewis, who is here with us? To my right is Dr. Jamar Proctor. He's an educator, entrepreneur, and cultural organizer. He has his doctorate in education in higher ed administration. He serves as instructor of learning framework courses at Houston Community College, and he is a member of Omega Psi Phi, as has been noted, and he is a great scholar in his own right. Will you help me give thanks to Dr. Proctor, who is here? And then last, but certainly not least, is the Reverend Jesse Watson, Jr. He is both a licensed and ordained minister for over 22 years. He is a member of the oldest and coldest Black Greek letter organization, Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated. He is a real estate developer, licensed real estate professional here in the city, and we are grateful for him on this panel. Will you help me thank Mr. Jesse Watson for being present? All right. That said, I want to dive into this topic of religious life and Divine Nine organizations. I'm going to ask Dr. Wright if you would start by giving us a brief 2 or 3 minute entry into your understanding of those who have disassociated and what reasons they've expressed and your perspective with respect to their rationale.
Thank you, Dr. AJ. And good morning, everyone. Glad to see you all coming out to learn more about this really important topic. I am, first of all, a Christian. Jesus Christ has been my Lord and Savior since I was 12 years old. And I've never strayed from that, even though I had moments that I may have questioned it. I'm also a 40-year member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority. I have people in my life that I know who have been a part of our organization, a Greek letter organization, and have denounced and decided that this was not for them. The reason for their denunciation really has been because they could not align the principles of their faith along with the principles of the organization. I think for many people, those who do denounce, is that it becomes a very blurred line for them. Their identity in one organization begins to conflict with their faith. Where for most of us who are part of these organizations that are Christian and hold our faith as a primary part of our lives and identity, we don't see the conflict because we're very clear about who our Lord is. We see a complementary pattern of being a part of an organization that provides service, that provides sisterhood or fellowship, brotherhood, and one that can help our community as opposed to something that is in conflict with our faith. Our Christian principles teach us to serve one another. Our Christian principles teach us to help the community. And we see that the church, as well as the organizations, the Greek letter organizations, can be in alignment together to serve both of those areas. And as a Christian, I find places that I serve in the church and work that I do. And then I also, as a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha, I find other areas that I can serve. And there are areas that the church doesn't reach, that the organizations reach. So we see the alignment that happens with both. I think for those that denounce, they have a very difficult time delineating their identity and the organization.
Thank you for that. How many of you, now, this is a seminar, which means you're a part of this dialogue, okay? How many of you all grew up going to church? Okay, wow. Y'all got drugged at church or y'all just wanted to go? Drug, okay, yeah. I understand. Y'all still getting drugged, yeah. You live in my house, you going to church on Sunday. That's what your mama said. Okay, so we understand the significance of the black church. I'm going to ask, Jesse, would you talk to us about the history of the black church and its value to the black community?
There's a deep connection with the history of the black church, mostly centered around and associated with really a commonality of trying to figure out how can we get beyond past the struggle. So it created an opportunity for us as a people to be able to connect, to be able to have community, to be able to have somebody that we can walk with, grow with, talk with, the whole nine. But more importantly, it also provided opportunity. When you start talking about back in the day, I'm talking about way back in the day, it provided opportunities for shelter. It provided opportunities for people to be able to get things that they normally could not get. It provided opportunities for folks to be able to have somebody to walk with, to identify with, as everybody was trying to grow and become who they were becoming. And of course, all that connected with faith and creating a foundation of what it is that you believe, because now what that does is it puts you in a position to now be able to move and grow towards something. I want to be better. I'm trying to put it in more simple terms versus hermeneutics and homiletics and all that other kind of stuff. Put it in very simple terms. So it's a way for us to be able to connect and grow and walk together.
Thank you. So one of the principles of the black church is liberation, right? If you look at the history of the black church, it was born out of a struggle. It was born in slavery, and there was the opportunity to worship together and in those spaces find humanity amidst the dehumanizing circumstances of slavery. The black church has been a pillar in the black community, right? It is the institution. It's literally one of the first names for it was the invisible institution, right? It is the institution wherein W.E.B. Du Bois writes, every public man must go through. If you wanted to have some prominence in the black society, you had to come through the black church. The black church is where you would be called boy all week long, but then you'd go and be called reverend or sir on Sunday morning, right? You found some dignity in the black church. So the black church has always had this quintessential quality for the black community. But so too have these black Greek letter organizations. Can you speak to us about how these organizations came about and the history of them and why they mean something to those who are associated with them?
Yes. Again, to give you layman's terms, these organizations came into existence because we did not have organizations on university campuses to participate in. So blacks nor females could participate in activities or things happening around the campus. So that is how Greek letter organizations started. Again, first with the fraternities and the sororities starting with that. The impact of it is dynamic. And I'm going to be proud at saying that it's dynamic. I am also a raised Christian. I have been in the Baptist church as well as the non-denominational setting. And I can say that keeping to what these organizations mean to students on college campuses, we have so much that we're doing and so much more to do. Pastor, he mentioned that I am currently getting my PhD at Jackson State University. The focus of my research study is how sisterhood, black Greek sororities, influence the social belonging and academic success of African American women on the campus of PWIs. What is a PWI? Predominantly white university or institution, right? So I'm looking at, my research is how are our organizations impacting campus and students socially and academically in their environment. One of the great authors that I am reading and giving a lot into the foundation of these organizations, the foundation of the National Panhellenic Council, the foundation is Dr. Walter Kimbrough. And if you do not know Dr. Walter Kimbrough, that is a name you want to look up. He has a book entitled Black Greek 101, okay? So our organizations, we are pertinent to feeling like we have a place on campus. And when you go to a PWI, I originally went to a PWI. I went to Sam Houston State University, just up the road in Huntsville, Texas. And if you don't mind, I'm going to give a little background. I went into school. I came from a family of no education, basically. My mother went to high school. She started maybe like one semester at TSU and decided she couldn't go to school anymore, right? My father, back in the country towards Austin and Giddings, Texas, if you know that, didn't even graduate high school. So I had no information about sororities and fraternities going into college. But I do agree that the religion, those are things that you find in the black church, in the black community. And being originally from 3rd Ward before I moved to the north side. So going into this university in Huntsville, Texas, I graduated from high school in 1991. When I went to school in the fall of 1991, the KKK were having rallies on campus. 1990s, we had to get together as a cultural group to protest that. So they moved out into the city. The university stopped that. We went into the city. We protested that as well. But it took all of the organizations getting together. It took the Black Student Union getting together. It took the Black Baptist Student Union getting together. But we hold power, and the majority of that power at predominantly white institutions, most of the time, comes from the D9 organizations. So, also in my research, I found that students who are not yet into these organizations look to these organizations for guidance, for mentorship, to make a difference on campus. So we have so many things that we give to others, and we have so much more to give. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that. So as we have this conversation, if there are questions that come up, I want you to feel comfortable in raising them. As was stated by Sister Lewis, what was the first fraternity? Alpha Alpha, right? It's a pop quiz. Where was it founded? Cornell University. Thank you for listening, all right? Cornell University is an Ivy League institution, right? Meaning it is a PWI, predominantly, and I mean predominantly, white institution, right? Maybe 8%, maybe now 13% black, right? And so in 1906, you have these students who can't get into these white organizations and probably don't really want to, and they want to distinguish themselves and create, first, a study group to make sure that they are academically achieving. But they also want to create this fellowship and this organization, and they want it to be prominent. Well, who are the most prominent intellectuals in history? The Greeks, the philosophers, right? And so they look to the Greeks. I mentioned a word earlier, Pan-Hellenic. Pan-Hellenic. Pan meaning together or all. Hellenism, it means Greek culture. It represents Greek culture. So it's all together Greek. In 1930 at Howard University, where most of these organizations were founded, they created this Pan-Hellenic Council. So all of us are going to get together and we're going to combine our intellectual capacity and our organizational resources. But one of the processes of creating the fraternity in 1906 was these rituals and these symbols, many of which were borrowed from Greek culture. Many of the people who are denouncing look to the rituals and the symbolism and say, there's something demonic in that. There's something wrong with that, and that doesn't align with my faith. Dr. Proctor, can you speak to us about the symbolism in our organizations and rituals, and how it is that we can process having these rituals, these symbols, and still having a faith life?
Well, I believe that the symbolisms and rituals that existed in the early 1900s, particularly with the founding of Alpha Phi Alpha, and then you mirror that to today, in many ways have changed, right? A lot of the doctrination that happened in the early 1900s are no longer applicable or I would say legal in today's society. So what happens is the mind frame and the societal changes and the philosophies that were applicable in the early 1900s when students were on the campus of Cornell University and able to go through those rigors and do those rituals as a means of becoming a member and in order to become associated with the fraternity have changed in today's culture when you have a different type of student and individual who are no longer who no longer find it a necessity to go through those things, as well as to be a member continuously in these organizations. So it's not necessarily that these rituals have no longer have a place. I think it's the individuals that have changed, and that's the issue that we're facing in our memberships who have members who are denouncing the organizations. So I believe that a lot of the rituals that we have in our organizations are really the foundation of the organizations, right? They are a means to say, to indoctrinate our members, to say this is what this organization stands for, this is what we believe in, and this is the foundation of our unity. And through these rituals, this is our bond. And so when you have people that break that pact, in my mind, they may feel that this bond is no longer necessary, and they sometimes use their religious beliefs, their Christianity, as a reason or an excuse, right, that's hard to argue against, to make that decision and to detach themselves from our organizations.
Thank you.
May I add a little bit to that as well? And thank you for sharing that. But I would like to say that culture changes.
Yes.
Do you guys see yourself as the same as somebody who was walking the campus in 1913 or 19? No, you don't, right? You don't see yourself looking the same way. You probably don't think the same way. You have access to more information. You learn differently. And we know more about humanity, not just locally, but globally. We know more about people and people in general. And so culture changes. And if we look at culture and say culture is our values plus our behavior. So our behavior has changed, right? The things that we do, we used to do in the past don't serve us no more. And so even as individuals have changed and our culture has changed, the culture of Greek letter organizations also has changed. Right. Yes. So there are traditions and rituals that still keep the value, but how we do those things may change. And so for people who find themselves in a position where they say, my Christian faith doesn't align to the behavior or the values of this organization, it's a very much an individual decision for that. Just as your individual decision would be like, yeah, I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of that because I'm on campus and I see what they're doing. I see and I like what they're doing, or the people are kind to me, or the people seem to have a bond or a sisterhood or a brotherhood that I'd like to be a part of. So that's important for you at a particular time in your life. But then for some people, when they grow or they move into other areas or they start learning more things about life, it may not become as much of a priority in their life as it once was. And so for some people who say, I don't want to be a part of this, their priorities have shifted. There are some people who are parts of the organization who do not denounce, but they're not an active or engaged member, but they still represent. For many years, I was not actively engaged in the sorority, but people knew that I was a member of the sorority, and so my actions also kind of reflected on what my organization did, right? So if you out there just wilding out, they'd be like, oh, she's an AKA, so like that. So you always have to be mindful that you have an alliance or a membership along with an organization, and hopefully your behaviors and your values match what the culture of the organization is and how you feel you fit within that culture as well.
How many of you, prior to today's session, knew about fraternities and sororities, by show of hands? How many of you, and this is a safe space, how many of you had aspirations to one day be in a sorority or fraternity? Okay. How many of you have heard about a word, pledging? Okay. So I am a member of Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated. I do not speak on behalf of Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated is a non-hazing fraternity. Okay. One of the ugly parts of these Black Greek letter organizations is that they have a history of engaging in hazing. When I say hazing, you all know what I mean? No? Okay. Jesse, I'm going to come to you. Speak to us about the history of hazing and how it is that can. I'm bringing this up because in conversation with one of the denouncers, she mentioned that the process that she went through, looking back on it, was one that she did not think aligned again with her Christian values as she came into the faith. And one of the reasons she said that was because of the hazing that took place. So articulate for us what hazing is and how it can be detrimental to Black Greek life.
Wow. So hazing can be defined as a number of things. So, for example, you all were in elementary school, and y'all had to go to the bathroom, right? What did y'all have to do? You had to stand in line and follow the leader to go to the bathroom. Well, that's considered as hazing on a college campus. If we all wearing the exact same colors and we're walking together in a group, or you see us going in the woods together, the perception is hazing. A lot of people think on a wide scale, hazing is just somebody getting beat with wood. That's kind of the word we use, wood. I'm trying to, yeah. But that's the perception. And I know even in high schools, they're still doing it. I was over the gents at Lamar High. I know what y'all do. But that's the perception of hazing, just getting beat. But it's really more to it than that. It's really more of a mental thing, because a lot of organizations initially, the thought process was, we want to break you down mentally and rebuild you to make you a better you. That's kind of the thought process. So it's almost taking everything that you knew you learned about life, let's reshape that and build you up to be a part of who we are, to represent who we are, how we walk, what we do. So now the detriment to that is this. And I was talking to my friend last night as he was explaining to me that his father said, man, you're going to pay somebody to beat you? And so that's one of the things some people think about, because to join an organization, you do have to pay to become become a member. Right? So there's a fee that you have to pay. So the detriment to it is everybody's process is different. And that depends on campus. It depends on where you are in the world. It depends on if you're north, south, east, west. It depends on if you're on a HBCU campus or a PWI campus. Everybody's process is going to be different. So where there are standards to how the process is supposed to go, the detriment sometimes is there are some people who go above and beyond because of whatever reason, right? So we deal with the elephant in the room. We just know that this just happened. Well, we heard about it a lot in the news. So there's a lot of things that can happen and goes way too far. So when you start talking about the detriment, what's been highlighted probably more than anything is that. You know, the detriment, the decline, the horrible stuff that happens with organizations versus we out, for example, Alphas, votes of people are hopeless people. We're getting people to go and vote. We're educating you about why it's important to go vote. And we got talking about scholarship. I mean, we can go through all of it, right? So there's a lot of good that's happening, but it's not being discussed because majority of what you guys see is you go through, you pledge, you get your letters, and we go step. And that's really the thing, truthfully. Now, is that exciting? Absolutely. Do you have fun doing that? Absolutely. But it's so much more to it than that.
Thank you.
Well, pledging or and again, I think we probably could all give this disclaimer that we are not official spokespeople for our organizations, okay? But pledging was a term used then. That was just the process that you were going through to join the organization. Many have changed that. It is now called initiating, not pledging. Old school, it was pledging. And you might hear people say, I want to pledge this, but that's not what we do anymore. We go through an initiation.
Culture change.
The culture change. Now, the hazing may be what happens while you're pledging, okay? And again, hazing can be as little as, I need you to go buy me a grape Fanta at the corner store.
20 ounce.
Right now. That's hazing. As simple as it is, it's hazing. If we were trying to get into the same organization or vice versa, one of us, it's hazing. Now, many organizations have developed risk management processes to alleviate that, but again, people may take it farther than they should. Okay, so that is not the principle or the basis of the organizations. They have a variety.
Yeah, many people that denounce are actually members. So they've already gone through the hazing process and have already pledged and have been initiated into the sorority and fraternities. And then they say, okay, I'm a member now, and now I don't want to be a member anymore. So oftentimes, now, there are people who may drop line, which is another form of denouncing, before they become a member. That's an important part of it as well. So this idea, I guess that takes us to another thing. This idea of denouncing an organization happens before you are a member as well as after being a member.
Well, you have a choice. You have a choice. When you find out you have the opportunity to come into an organization, whether there's hazing or not, you still have a choice. If what you're learning, as far as history or anything else, you don't feel good about that, you have a choice to walk away. So even those that may say they don't agree with the hazing process, they had the choice to walk away if and when they were hazed.
I just want to correct both of my panelists up here. It's not a hazing process. And I think we just have used the words kind of interchangeably a little bit. So let me just clarify. It is an initiation process now. So MIP, right? Membership initiation process.
Intake, yeah.
So pledging is the old school term for coming into the sorority or going into the fraternity. You would pledge to become a part of the organization. Hazing is what happens by the activities of some characters, some people that do too much, that go too far. And so now the organizations have all really developed anti-hazing policies to ensure that we don't go too far, to ensure that we don't do too much. And all of our members who are active at the time that are part of an initiation process to bring people into the organization are trained on this. So they are taught, this is what our organization believes in, these are the rules, and these are the guidance. So we are here to protect people as they come in to our organization. So it's not a hazing process. There's no process to that. It's individuals who go too far. But there is a process that happens if they get caught. There is a process that happens to that person if they get caught. And just like Sister Sheila said, now I'm calling you Sister Sheila. Just as Sheila said, you have an opportunity when you are in the initiation process, if you say, hey, this is not for me. I thought this was going to be for me, this is not for me. And you have an opportunity to stop and to say, you know what, I don't think this is what I thought it was, or I don't think this aligns with my principle and my value. And so you step away. But there are people who become members and then determine that they don't like it there. And that, people have that right to make a decision for them. And so I think some of the concern for some of the members of the D9 is the public denunciation and how they utilize their faith, as my brother said there, how they utilize their faith as a reason. Because I always say God has a trump card, right? So what you going to say when somebody says, God told me? That's a trump card. You can't say nothing to that, can you? God told you, okay, if that's what God told you, then that's what God told you.
Absolutely.
Right? So for those of us who are people of faith and members of the Greek letter organizations, I think our challenge is to help others to really critically think about it. Think about this. You know, is it something that has become idolatry for you? You know, do y'all know what idolatry is? Right? Okay. Something
What is
that,
it? What
go
is it?
ahead, break it down.
Somebody. Y'all, I heard somebody say yes. What is it?
There
Putting
you go.
something before God.
Putting it before God. If you're putting all your, I'm Miss Pink and Green, I'm Miss AKA, and it becomes before God, then that is idolatry. And you need to step back and realign, check yourself, right? Because God is first, and as a person of faith and a Christian, I believe, you know, the word of God, he says, you have no other God before me. So I can't put my sorority in front of God.
Right.
God is one, okay? But I need to be able to say, you know, how can I be a part of this organization and still serve God? And so when I check myself on that, then I know that I can serve the organization, but it's not my God. God is my God. All right.
To expound on that, everybody say piggyback.
Piggyback.
Let that be the last time you ever say it. That's a pet peeve of mine. There's so many better words than piggyback, okay? Yeah. To expound on that, to continue the thought, to delve deeper into that, just piggyback, to expound on that, I think part of the challenge that I've witnessed with those who come to the conclusion that they need to disassociate or denounce is that each of us has a different level of spiritual maturity. And each of us is developed differently in our organizations. I came across grad chapter, which means I had already graduated undergrad, I had a master's degree already, and I decided I wanted to get into the fraternity for professional and personal reasons, right? I was somewhat mature at the time. This was 10 years ago. And it's different to come across grad chapter than undergraduate. The context is different. The maturity level is different. You're on a college campus and you likely can't easily just go home and get away from the culture that is attempting to be ingrained by your organization or by the organization you desire to be a part of. Can someone speak to the maturity aspect? And then I want to open it up. If you all have any questions after this one, we certainly want to hear from you. So think through your questions after we talk through how it is that both individually we mature and the difference and distinction between undergraduate and postgraduate chapters.
Well, for me, I know a couple of people who actually denounced Omega Psi Phi personally. And for one of the gentlemen, it's a strange thing when we talk about maturity, because this member has an older brother who was a member of the fraternity. So he came into the fraternity with full disclosure, and we are a member of the same chapter. So there's even more of an understanding that he had full disclosure of what he was getting himself in. So when we talk about maturity in that aspect, I have to question exactly what his motive is now that he's denouncing, because to my understanding and knowing this brother, he was fully aware of the fraternity, good, bad, indifferent, joy, sorrows, and alike, Christian, non-Christian, rituals, and everything in between. So what I would say to students is this: not only is there a level of maturity involved, but also do your research. Understand who you are as an individual and how the organizations that you are seeking membership into aligns with your principles as an individual, both socially as well as spiritually, and put yourself in the best position that you can when you choose your organizations. So that's what I just wanted to add about that. That's good.
Also, with that said, it brought up a thought. when you are asked to become a member of an organization, they see something in you that they need to enhance their organization. So you're an individual long before you have the opportunity to join an organization. Your character traits, your personality, those things add to the organization. So if you choose to join, you are becoming the asset to the organization. Okay? So we're not putting the organization before God, because I was of God before then, and I was of myself. I am confident in myself before. I was confident in myself before joining Alpha Kappa Alpha, and I'm confident in myself after joining. I'm bringing my skills to the organization, and they need me, is how I thought about that, right? So you don't have to fall in line with losing yourself in an organization. That is the number one thing that you should think about.
But if you're coming through the membership process, you probably shouldn't tell them they need you. Just
That's right.
make sure you get on the other side before you say, y'all need me, all right?
Please make sure that you're on the other side first. I wanted to expound on that thought process, on the difference between the alumni chapter and the college chapter. The college chapter, they're looking at you as a student. What is your grade point average? You know, what are you majoring in? How active are you on the campus? What all are you involved in? Those are some of the things that they think about when deciding, are you going to be a good fit for our organization? Biblically, the Bible says a good name is rather to be chosen, right, than silver and gold. And so the thought process behind that is, don't go out there and mess up my good name. So that's why there's a process on the undergraduate level of what do you do? What's your grade point average? Where you are in life, da-da-da-da-da. On the alumni level, we said now you're more mature, you're more professional. So now we're looking at your resume. What kind of work do you do? What have you done in your life? Where do you work? Do you have a family or not? How do you impact the community, if at all? So it's a different perception once you go into the organization on the alumni level versus the undergraduate level. Now, some of us are special, me being one. I chose to go through the graduate process, and I did some extra on the side, just disclaimer. And I'm gonna leave it at that, so that I can understand and speak the language. Yeah, that's probably the best I can put it. So, but part of my reasoning for that was because there was a disconnect between the alumni chapter and the college chapter at my university. So how do I figure out how to bridge that gap? Because I'm not too far apart from their age, even though I'm already out of school. So we went through our process, and I was one of those graduate brothers stepping around the party. I was one of those graduate brothers bringing the boot, as they say. And that's the difference, too. It's a different level of celebration as well. So it's different levels to it, speaking to the level of maturity when you're going through the undergraduate process versus the graduate process. A lot of what you guys have been exposed to is probably the undergraduate perspective, because I don't know if a university allow it anymore, but we used to ride around the campus and blow horns and jump out, attend games. We got letters. We got our own spot, step shows. You know, we have community, and people can see who we are and how we function, and then they begin to decide if they can identify with each organization to determine, hey, which one do I want to be a part of?
AJ, 1 second. I just want to give the perspective for pledging or becoming a member while you're in college. So I was at a PWI at UT Austin, and just really like Sheila said in her research that she's finding, is that there was community there. I was a very active member of the Black Student Alliance, the Science Club, but I didn't find, except for the Black Student Alliance, I didn't find a lot of people like me, a lot of people with interests that were similar to mine. And so I knew that I would likely I wanted to be part of the Greek life. Plus, they looked like they was having a heck of a lot of fun. I ain't gonna lie, okay? They were. They threw the parties. They had the step shows. They were present in the libraries also, yes. So there were scholarship. All of that was there, and it was present, and I knew that that was something that I wanted to align myself with. And so, so for me, that undergraduate process really did help me form bonds of sisterhood. I was coming over today and I was sharing how there were women that were ahead of me, and I didn't really know them, but some had like graduated by the time I came in. And now here, like 40 years later, okay, somebody's mathing. I was 19 when I came in, so okay. But 40 years later, we're friends. We're greater friends now than I didn't even really know them, but they knew of me because I came in after them, and I knew their name because they came ahead of me. And so we're friends, and their examples have blessed me my whole life. I can go somewhere and speak in another city and just say, hey, I'm going to be in Dallas, and this is where I'm going to be, and they will show up. I'm telling you, they will buy a ticket, come and sit in the audience, and we take a picture and talk about it in our group text afterwards, you know, because that sisterhood is there. There's a network and there is a connectivity that cannot be broken. And, you know, even for the people who came after me, that same thing happens. We have like a group me with about 500 folks in it that came through UT Austin chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha, and we are networked. Some folks 50 plus years, you know, came in the 1950s. Our chapter is 50 plus years old. So they came in, I guess not in the 50s, but in the 60s or so. And since then, we still apart. We still connect. And we still have bonds of sisterhood that help lead us into the next area of service altogether.
Any questions? Yes, ma'am. Speak up so we can hear you, please. Hold on, I'm going to bring this to you.
So how do you guys feel that the younger generations that are pledging and their values, like some people now they just pledge because they see the parties and they see certain things and they're just like, let me just do it for the picture so I can like be well known on campus and not actually because they want to help the community. How do you feel like that creates that denouncing and later on because they feel like, oh, well, when I was doing this, I just partied. I was just there for the parties. I was just there to like, you know, do certain things.
Great question.
I'll start. Okay, that's nothing new, okay? Yes. People have always, since the beginning of our organizations, people have joined the membership because of the social lifestyle, right? And they're absolutely fun. You will have a piece of that, I would say some of those members in your membership. However, the organizations are so great that a person that joins simply to party also becomes active in the community. They also become an officer in the organization and become a great organizational leader. They also become affiliated with other members in other chapters and get business connections and become millionaires. So don't be turned off by those members that just join because they're looking at the social aspect of the organizations, because once they get in, they'll realize that there's so much more to the organizations than just that. And I would even go a step further and say those members that are denouncing the organizations are not the ones that are having a great time in the organizations. Those ones that are having a great time and joined because it's a great organization and fun for them, they are still active and engaged members. I think that there are a slew of other reasons why people denounce, and we may get into that in a second.
Would y'all say, like, in today's society with, like, the hazing and all that, is that like a reason why people are denouncing? Like, cause y'all said like culture changes, and like back in the day, they probably wasn't like doing the stuff they did now, like back then. So my bad. Yeah, it's gotten worse with like now people are dying with the hazing, and I think like last month somebody got killed or whatever. So like, yeah.
Again, you know, well, I think what back in the day is subjective. Being a teacher for 29 years back in the day could be 10 years ago for some. Yeah. But I will say, again, it's going too far. It's going too far. When you making that decision to participate in something like that as a member of the organization, I'm going to do this to this person, that's making a decision. It's going too far. Again, we have workshops, many universities, and because I've been on the graduate council for a university to oversee the undergraduates, I know a lot of more intricacies. But many universities now are holding university-wide risk management, MIP, whatever they call it, workshops for everyone. It doesn't matter if you're one of the Divine Nine or something else. Everyone has to go through these workshops. And until you prove that you've been through the workshop, you cannot be considered to go into that organization as an undergraduate. Okay, so it starts early. But not everyone is denouncing because of hazing or some form of hazing. I am very close to someone that denounced, did not do it publicly because she didn't feel like that was something she needed to do. She just went inactive. But her reason for denouncing was that God told her that she was spending more time within that organization than on his things, okay? That's valid. That's valid. I know her personally. She was not anywhere close as active as I was. But for her, each person is different. For her, that's what she felt she needed to do.
The question is, it's a personal decision when you denounce. The answer is yes, absolutely. I'm going to get one more question, and then I want to give the panelists opportunities to give us closing remarks.
You all talked about people denouncing their Greek letters because of their conflicts of their beliefs and how the culture changes. This is more aimed towards you two because y'all in the same organization but different times. How could y'all speak on how y'all's initiation process was different from the culture changing, and how people of our generation should go about joining those organizations or conducting our research?
It's a secret. I can't tell you. I'm just playing. I'm just kidding. So I will say, in my experience, I was already serving as the executive pastor at Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church when I decided to go into the fraternity, to go through the intake process. So I had a professional career established, which meant I had my own sense of self-worth and integrity and dignity. And the people who were initiating me also knew that. They knew of my professional career. They knew who I was. And so with the collective understanding, there wasn't foolishness that might occur if I was a college student. And I didn't necessarily have standing in the community, right? So what I hope that everyone, if you ever intend to pledge, will take away is you have intrinsic, inherent self-worth, right? You are valuable, and these organizations will be made better because you become a member of them, if you live up to who you are and can be. And so with that mentality, you can engage in the process and not allow for the process to devolve into what it could be when it's not its best process. If you want to say that.
Absolutely. I've seen, participated, been involved in both sides. of the process for some of the younger brothers as well as my process. And so, again, like my brother was saying, when you're more established and you're here in life doing, married, what have you, and the people that's taking through the process, they have a certain perspective that, one, time is of the essence. You're not going to be able to come out here every day for 17 weeks and do all of this stuff. It's understood. As opposed to the college level, you're on the campus every day. And so whatever organization, whatever their standards are, you're still meeting with them on a regular basis because you're on the campus, right? So the way the process goes, it's hard for me to speak to everybody's process. What I imagine now, with all the lawsuits and all of the spotlights that are happening, the process is going to have to shift on how initiation or membership intake is taking place. It's going to have to shift and become more of probably what it should have been in the original place. Who are you? What do you bring to the organization? And how can we help you and you help us achieve this common goal to get to wherever it is that we want to get to? What that's going to look like is really hard to speak to it, honestly. What I will say is this, though. Every organization has its own identity, every last one of them. Now, do we all share common bond, common goal? Absolutely. Are we all going in the same direction to achieve the same thing? Absolutely. How we do it is different. So your neighbor may raise their family different than your family. So it's hard to speak to what that process will look like. But I imagine that it's going to be shaped in a place to where there's going to be less attention on the negative and more attention on the positive and the good that comes out of it.
We started late, but they want us to end on time. So it's 12:30, and if there are any pressing thoughts from the panel, I want to make sure we hear them, please, and then we'll wrap up.
One thought that I want to make is, we're talking about denouncing, and when you're on social media, most of the people that are denouncing are going to lean towards their Christian belief as the reason that they're denouncing organizations. I have a counter understanding to that. I think that I really want this to be understood by you, because I don't want you to think that, people are leaving Greek organizations because they are demonic or they are anti-Christian or something like that. It's my belief, my alternative belief, that a lot of these people are leaving these organizations for social media clout. You have to understand that I'm looking at a guy that I know personally who has never really been associated with the fraternity, leaves the fraternity, and hasn't been active in the fraternity for over 20 years. Now he's publicly denouncing Omega Psi Phi in the name of his Christianity while pushing his books and marketing his ministries, right? So I can't help but say, hey, you haven't been a member for 20 plus years. However, I'm also noticing that you are marketing your personal business, if you would, right? So I want you to also understand that people have alternative motives and ulterior motives when it comes to that. The second point that I want to make is the United States has a long-standing history of racism. And the FBI has a long-standing history of infiltrating black organizations, whether it be the black church, whether it be the Nation of Islam, so on and so forth. Now, it would be naive to believe that there are not infiltrators in our black organizations. So now, if I'm a member of the FBI and I've infiltrated a chapter of Omega Psi Phi, Alpha Phi Alpha, or a sorority, I can come publicly and say I'm denouncing this organization, and now I'm no longer a part of that membership. So that's a much easier way for people to remove themselves from that activity. So those are two things that I just want you guys to see and think about critically, that it's more to it than just what meets the eye when you see people denouncing organizations.
That's really juicy, and I hate that we have to leave on that. That's good. It's called engagement farming, what he was talking about with the first guy. Will you help me give thanks to each of these panelists for their time and their contributions? While you're clapping, clap for yourselves. Thank you for your participation, and we hope that you have been helped as a consequence of our time shared together. Chris, you want to lead us?